And we're back with APS. We see it in our very special guest is Yogi Roth, Big Ten football analyst extraordinaire. Hey, Yogi, good to see you again.
And it's a pleasure always seeing you. I can remember the first time we met and just seeing you along the way and meeting your amazing family. So thanks for having me on again.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm here in Las Vegas at the Big Ten 2025 SEC. I'm SEC on the brain, right,
Yeah,
Yogi?
yeah.
You know my background, right? But Big Ten football, I love it here. So much attention to this league. I think they've elevated it the last 2 years. There's no question. A couple national championships. I don't think there's a difference in any speed. That was the misnomer for many, many years. I think both teams are big and fast and strong and can compete at any time.
Well, I think this is the most talented quarterback group the Big Ten Conference has ever had. I think being a West Coast guy, but grew up in Big Ten country, there's always an element of, it's cliche, but it was physical. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play great defense. And then you look at how many quarterbacks have been produced outside of the premier schools, specifically Ohio State and recently J.J. McCarthy in Michigan. You didn't see a lot of it. Now, with the addition of the four from the West Coast and then the advent of the portal and NIL and what it's done, you go up and down this league. I mean, there's 5 teams that return a starting quarterback with more than 5 starts at that school. But then you add in Preston Stone, who's got way more than 5 starts at his former school. You add in Fernando Mendoza, way more than 5 starts.
He's talented.
He's extremely talented. You start going down the line. You look at Damon Williams, might be the most dynamically talented player in the league. You look at Jaden Maiava. He was the Mountain West Freshman of the Year at UNLV 2 years ago before coming to USC and getting that starting job at the end of the season. So I look up and down this league. Then you think about Dante Moore, and then even the freshmen, Bryce Underwood or Malik Washington, I think will start at Maryland and Michigan respectively. It's an awesome year. I think it's not even close. I know conferences love to compete and compare
all the time.
quarterbacks. The Big Ten, and then with the style of play they have, quarterback play is going to make the competitiveness in this league with 9 conference games so much more premium than I think that it's been in recent years.
Are there 4 favorites in this league? Yogi, the reason I say that because most of the time the bigger conferences, they have about 4 qualifiers, let's say. Not automatic, but qualifiers. Is there 4?
I think there's 3 for sure. To me, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, their rosters are just a cut above. We look at them now. And then there's the next tier of teams that I think have the tools and the talent to make a ton of noise. I'll start with Illinois. And it's not just because they're a sexy pick, but they returned 16 starters. They returned their offensive line. They returned an experienced quarterback who took down South Carolina in the bowl game. They are loaded, and they're loaded where you got to be physical in the trenches. I look at them, and then you look at Michigan. Big time on defense. They can run the football. They're upgrade at wide out. They're always going to be a tough out. Iowa, always going to be a tough out. Indiana, they're not going anywhere, folks. If everybody thinks that was a one-year wonder, they've improved. The Trojans at SC dramatically improved in the trenches specifically. Nebraska dramatically improved year 2 now with Dylan Raiola. You start looking at that next tier in this league. Look at Iowa. They bring in the FCS Player of the Year at quarterback and Mark Gronowski. It's pretty cool. And then Jed Fish in Washington. You start looking at those games. Are we going to get a bunch of 8-5 teams, 8-4 teams, or is somebody being able to take a run? And I look at the margin of victory in this league. 31 games out of 81 in conference play were 1-score games. SEC wasn't that. No. I think SEC was around 28-30% of their games. Big Ten about 38%, and the SEC is only playing 8 of them. So it's just a more competitive league in terms of week in and week out. You have to bring your best.
You might have a kicker be an all-star player for somebody, right? All these close ball games.
1,000%. I mean, it's really fun as a broadcaster, honestly, AP, of the margins. You love calling a game that's tight, and then it's these decisions by coordinators and playmakers and giving yourself a shot to make a kick, to convert a 3rd down, to go for it on a 4th down. That's what makes our job so much fun any given Saturday. So, yeah, I think special teams are going to be an area that will probably get a lot more airtime than they had in years past.
One team said they had 2 special team coaches, I think. I can't remember.
Washington. First time Jed Fish has ever done it. And I get it. Yeah. I mean, now with the advent, or I guess you could say the I don't know, this is all, how staffs have dissolved the idea of like, you can only have 9 full-time coaches.
Yes,
like you can hire a lot of guys.
The secretary coaches, I think now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's about time. Like I remember when I was coaching, I was an analyst, and you couldn't coach on the field. My first year, I remember doing that. But you were still like trying to coach. You're trying to do anything you can. Yes. Like there's a reason why a lot of practices were closed at Tuscaloosa because you couldn't see if the analyst was coaching. Like they've kind of always been ahead of the curve in Saban's era to me of having more than just 9 guys on the field with the players.
Oh, for sure. Do you have 4 good Heisman candidates or more, 3 or 4?
Oh yeah, I think there's, the way the Heisman works, and I know you're a voter, I'm a voter as well. Like there is a version of a popularity contest and a narrative and a branding around it, but you do have to play at a really high level. Yeah. So I think there's like natural names. Drew Aller should be in that conversation.
Penn State quarterback.
Penn State quarterback. No flinch in that regard. You could look at Dylan Raiola, quarterback in Nebraska. Should be. We're going to kind of go down that position group. I think Jonah Coleman. Think about it. He had 1,000 yards rushing for Washington last year. And I get Penn State's talented at running back. There's a lot of gifted running backs. He had the worst offensive line of the group. And he was the best player on Washington's team. And everybody knew he was going to get his touches. Still over 1,000 yards rushing. I think what he does out of the backfield is second to none. Just how he can get the ball out of the backfield. He's so talented, 3.93 GPA. Like I can rave about the type of young man that Jonah Coleman is. So I think I'd put him in that conversation. I think Corey Parrish at Minnesota. I get it's Minnesota. To me, they're a sneaky team. They can get to double-digit wins, and if they do, they're going to the playoff.
Right.
He's going to play offense, defense, where he was an All-American, returner, where he was a freshman All-American. He's going to play offense this year. And he's playing like real wide receiver. PJ Fleck was on set at Big Ten Network talking about that with us. And then I think Dante Moore, to me. I think Dante Moore has the most unique arm talent in this league. Hasn't even won the job yet when you talk to Dan Lanning, but from what my eye has seen, I think he's got a chance to be a star in the sport.
What do you think elevated the Big Ten, Yogi? You've been watching football for a while. Yeah. So what do you think was the keys, a couple keys?
Well, I say this from like being out west my majority of my professional career. It was often ignored, or to me, like the reporting was kind of lazy. Like if it wasn't really in front of your face in an early game, you weren't following Gardner Minshew, who to me should have been a Heisman finalist. With his year, he went crazy at Washington State. They won 11 games. I think what's happening within the Big Ten, and again, it's kind of lazy, but they won the last 2 national championships, right? So I just think that like because they won and they finished the season hoisting the trophy, they've earned that title. I think when you break it down and look at the competitive depth of the SEC and the Big Ten, like it's a fun debate to have that back
Absolutely.
and forth, of course, but there is the world of like, how many rings did you win? They won the last 2. They've had success in the bowl games against teams from the SEC and in the CFP. So that's why, really. And then it's just been these 2 have just separated from the rest of the power leagues. And the draft would tell you that. The amount of teams would tell you that. The desire to be in the league, the money to be in the league. Like there's so many elements that has separated the Big Ten. And I'd argue even the media rights deal they've done. I mean, it's brilliant. They're everywhere.
I think they put it over on the SEC in that regard because multiple channels. I like that idea. So many different networks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, obviously I'm biased from working at one of them, right. But I just like how the day is laid out. You know, I don't love, like I still wish there were still 5 power leagues and there's still that thing, but that's gone. So to that point, you're going to wake up and you're going to see Big Noon Kickoff and you're going to watch an Ohio State game. And then you get the CBS game of the week and hear Gary Danielson's amazing voice on that. And then here comes Todd Blackledge. And then in the intermediate, you got a Big Ten Network game, you got an FS1 game. Like they've done a masterful job in marketing. And you have to me, tip your cap to that because the SEC's always been masterful. When I was coaching at SC back in the day, the SEC was nothing. Compared to what it is now, you weren't losing players on the West Coast of the SEC, but they did a really nice job of marketing that league, whether it was It Just Means More, and then all of a sudden they start winning and they get Saban, and that to me is what really sent that thing going. And then the narrative on the Pac-12, and here they swooped right into the West Coast. And away it went.
Those quarterbacks came from the west to the southeast.
No, that's not happening anymore.
Not happening anymore. Yeah. America is obsessed with saying the best.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying we're outstanding.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of outstanding people and programs and coaches and those types of things. So when I hear somebody say, "We're the best," I say, "All right, if you just say you're excellent, that's good enough for me."
I'm a big fan of like the phrase like 2 things can be true. two things can be true. Like the Big Ten could be really talented, SEC can be really talented, Arizona State could be really talented, Clemson can be really talented. Miami, like all those things can be true, and I think that's also a part of while all of these things happen off the field in college football that. I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of like tracking whether it's media rights deals or litigation. Like I love the game and the craft.
Yes.
And I think the game and the craft have proven on Saturday to still be special. The challenge for our sport will be, can we continue to get to know the players? Because I think every alum I've found, and we're not talking about just the top tier schools, but look at the mid-tier. Look at Cal, Stanford. You know, you could look at even the mid-tier schools, even look at the standings in the SEC or the Big Ten. Like, how many players at Mississippi State do you really know? You know, because there's such transactions. So I hope we get back to that in this sports, to just telling the stories of the players, get their helmets off a little bit.
Yeah, every team has their story, and every team has a player with a unique background and skills and talent. So yeah, we should continue that. And we're with one of the best, Yogi Roth, from the Big Ten House. We're going to come back after a few minutes. We're going to continue our discussion. Like I said, this Big Ten Media Days, a lot of accessibility. I'm really enjoying myself, and I'm in Las Vegas with Yogi Roth. So that's pretty good, right? So we're going to be back after these messages with AP as we see it.